We are going to talk about a couple of newer topics that may be of interest to you. The first one is CSS of variables. They're also called custom CSS properties. And since we just talked about JavaScript and variables, kind of thought it would be appropriate for you to learn about CSS variables. And now that you know a little bit more about CSS itself, basically what you can do is you can assign a name to different CSS values. And then instead of entering the values throughout your CSS, you can use your custom name instead. And so how this works is, first of all, you have to set up your names, and those are done at the root level. In fact, you do :root, which is the highest level of your HTML document. Basically, it's the top of the document. And then you do 2 dashes and you create a name. Okay, and then you use a colon, and then you enter the CSS value. And once you do that, the name that you create is basically an alias for that value. And wherever you would normally use the value, you can sub in that name that you created. Okay, so here's my little example. So I've got these variables set up at the root level, and that makes them global, which means your whole entire file of CSS and HTML know about them. So you can use them in an internal style sheet. You can use them in an inline style. They are known. And so I've given some names like big text or small text. And then for these hex values, these are the actual colors that the values are representing. Okay, so I've defined them, and the text that I've entered are my variable names. Now, in order to use those, anywhere that I would normally put 3EM or where I would put a hex color code, I need to enter VAR for variable. And then in parentheses, I enter dash dash and my variable name that I created. Okay, so for example, heading 1. If I want to make that text bigger and change the color, I still have to use the CSS property, font size, and a colon. But then instead of putting in a value here, I use var and then in parentheses, dash dash big text. Okay, and for color, instead of using the hex value, I put in var and in parentheses, dash dash deep pink. Now, the advantage of this is if I wanted to change the shade of pink or change the size of the big text, I only have to do it in one spot. Okay, if I'm using variables, it'll pick that up throughout my CSS. So I do have a little interactive example here that you guys can try, and you can actually kind of take this code from the root you want and copy and paste it right over this. Okay, and immediately, because the shade of blue changed, if you run it, you're going to notice a change. Okay, and then, it's just a matter of coming in here and changing things to what you want. So if I wanted deep pink here, I could change that. If I wanted my light blue, maybe, let's see. And we'll try that down here. And you can see how that changed. And then for maybe the color of the text, I'll make that white. And then maybe I'll add my own thing for font size. And then we'll do var and dash dash. We'll call this one small text. And let's run it. Should get a lot smaller. Okay. And so you can kind of see how easy that is to use. Let's add a couple more. So let's do light blue here. Okay, so that text changed. Background color, I don't think we'll mess with that. We can mess with the bottom border though. Let's do deep pink. Okay, so now if I wanted to change any of these colors, I can, but that requires me to know those hex values right off the top of my head, but we will find some. Let's see, hex values for pink. Shades of pink. Okay. All right, we can do this. This is more like a salmony pink. Ooh, coral pink. Let's do that one. Okay. All right, so I can change this up here and run it, and everything picks up. Okay, so that is the advantage of using the CSS custom properties, also known as variables. The other thing that I wanted to show you was ChatGPT. This has gotten a lot of publicity lately, and basically for developers, it does a pretty good job of giving you starter code. It's not necessarily code that you're going to be able to use like right out of the box, right when it's generated. Typically, you have to make little tweaks and corrections to the code because it's not perfect. But I click on the link here. I've already gone through the process of creating an account. So it's just logged me right in. But creating an account is not difficult. And what I've done is I've kind of went through the steps. I did not sign up for an account there. I just used my Google to authenticate. That's considered third-party authentication. And they wanted my full name and my birthday. They also wanted my phone number. And you are going to want to give them your real phone number because the next step is that you have to complete a puzzle. And once you do it correctly, they are going to send you a verification code, to your phone. So you're going to need to key that in. And then once you key that in, you get into ChatGPT. And what you have to do is enter whatever it is that you want ChatGPT to generate, type it and press enter. And so, I mean, you can get really detailed, but ChatGPT is kind of limited as far as what it can generate. For example, if I wanted to have it code up a C# Yahtzee game for me. So let me put in C# Yahtzee game. Okay. That is beyond what it is capable of doing. So it is working and it is giving me starter code. Okay. But you'll see it tells you the implementation is basic and you are going to need to add the features like scoring. Okay. So basically what it's given me, and it doesn't matter if you tell it to do it in C# or JavaScript. I tried a bunch of languages. It kind of gives you a nice shell of a program. It simulates rolling a dice 3 times, and that's pretty much it. There's no scoring. It does not let you save any of the numbers. None of that logic is in there, but it did generate quite a bit of code for you. Okay. And so it's giving you a starting point. And that is how a developer should look at ChatGPT. This is a starting point. It is not a final product. So to give you some other examples, I entered custom CSS properties just to see what it would do. And this is what it gave me. So, I mean, it did give me some. It gave me a main color and a secondary color, and then it gave examples of how to apply those. Okay, and I asked for a responsive HTML5 CSS grid example. And so there's quite a bit of code, so I just plopped it into a separate document. So here is what it gave me. And you can see, I mean, it gave me the menu system because I asked for menus. But the problem with the menu system, and you can see, is that this is unacceptable out of the box. I would have to totally style this. I wouldn't want a vertical menu like this in this particular page. I would want a horizontal one. And so this is not a finished product by any means. Let's see. I asked for a JavaScript display and hide a paragraph. That's what I entered, JavaScript display and hide a paragraph. And so this is what it gave me. A little toggle button where you click on it and it displays or it hides. So this would be great as, part of an existing page, not super useful by itself. And then I asked it for a JavaScript menu. So what I typed was JavaScript pull down menu. And this actually is pretty darn good. This is the menu that I got. Okay, and that's, I mean, I like to style things, so it's not quite styled how I would normally do it, but that actually isn't too bad. And if you go and you check the page source, you'll see that it generated a whole lot of CSS. Okay, it's got dummy links, which obviously would have to be customized, and so would the text. And then down here is the JavaScript. Okay, so like I said, it does a pretty good job, but I would consider it to be starter code, or maybe code that you might add to another project. And as far as our final project goes, you do need to incorporate JavaScript into it. And if you want to use ChatGPT to, give you some JavaScript code that you can use in your project, that is perfectly fine. Okay. If you want to go with examples like we saw in the JavaScript lecture demo, that is okay too. Okay. It does not have to be anything overly complicated. Okay, so hopefully you guys have some ideas of how you could incorporate these. We do not have an assignment that uses this. This is just additional information. And if you would like to start using custom properties and ChatGPT to generate some code, that is perfectly fine.